Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you for having me. You noticed I had to move the table because I'm going to give you a little PSA here. I have on very high shoes. I have a serious lack of coordination. So if you see me tumble to the ground in the middle of my talk, don't panic. I will get back up and we'll keep going. So I want to ask you a question. And the question I have for you today is, do you think your voice matters? I actually asked that question on a poll, so for any of you that registered for this session, you had to answer it. And I found it a little bit interesting that about 80% of you said, yeah, absolutely, my voice matters. But I have a feeling that if you were to tell me the truth and tell me the whole story, that there may have been a point in your life where you thought it didn't matter, or no one was listening to it. And that's probably what brought you to this place and to this room. Because you wanted to be around other people who felt the same way that you did, and you wanted to be in an environment where we could amplify our voices. It's important, we have a very important message to share with our employers, our communities, the nation. It's a huge message, and it's going to take all of us to get it. But I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to take you on a little journey. Guess what? It's mine. I'm really shocked by that. But it starts in the mid-1980s. I know some of you weren't even born then, but hey, I was already in the insurance business. And I was an administrative assistant at an old school insurance agency. You guys know the type. It was a bunch of old white dudes. They primarily sold property and casualty, and then they had this little arm for life and health, as they called it back then. So I was hired to support the life and health department. And it turns out that that partner in the agency, he was a former New York life agent, so you can kind of paint the picture in your mind. He was really about getting those life insurance policies and those buy-sell contracts, and the benefits were kind of left over. So I was filling in, and I was working on the benefits quite a bit. And I discovered that I really liked it, and I was good at it. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I have a background in sales. I should probably be selling benefits. It seems like it's a great opportunity to bring in additional revenue to the agency, to expand our reach, and potentially additional revenue to me too. I mean, I'm not altruistic. So I thought about it, and I prepared my mental pitch, and I walked down the stairs, and I walked into the office of the managing partner of this agency. He was in his early 60s. I say that as if I'm not in my early 60s now, but that was then, and I was in my 20s, so you kind of get the power dynamic here. And I went in there and I gave him my pitch. And he sat back in his chair, and he folded his arms over his belly, and he looked me straight in the eye, and he said, nah, I don't think you'll be any good at it. No one really likes you. Okay, let me take that one in for a second. So he proceeded to explain to me that the girls in the office didn't think I was social enough because I was working too hard. And I wasn't outgoing enough because, you know, I wasn't going for cocktails after work and all the things. So to this day, I do not know how I had the presence of mind to actually have a comeback to him. But I managed to explain to him that I thought the things he perceived as negatives about me would actually make me really good at this job. I was focused on creating additional revenue for the agency. I was focused on creating opportunities. And because I wasn't as extroverted as he thought I should be, I wasn't going to waste a lot of the agency's money schmoozing people who probably weren't going to buy from me in the first place. So, reluctantly, he agreed. But here was the deal. He said, well, if I'm going to give you this opportunity, I'm not hiring anybody else. So you're still going to have to do that admin assistant duty. And since you're only going to do it for about half the day, you're probably going to have to take a cut in pay as well. And I took it in, and again, given the time frame and my age, I said, okay, you crack that door and I'm gonna kick it down. And I walked right through it, and that's what I did. And I was great at it. I was so good at it, as a matter of fact, that his name was Dudley. He was the managing partner. When Dudley was ready to retire, he sold a bulk of his shares in the agency to me, a 20-something female. So at this point, I had two partners. I had his son, Marty, and another guy. So Marty was the majority owner because, of course, you know how it works, nepotism. So, but everything was going well. We were doing great as an agency. And unbeknownst to myself or the other partner, Marty had been in secret negotiations with another agency that we were going to merge with. So he comes and he presents it to us and he's like, okay, you know, this is going to be so good for us. Oh, but by the way, Nancy, we're going to buy your shares back. And they don't really think that having a female producer would be a very good look. So you're going to be in charge of the girls in the office. Have you met me? No, that was not what was going to happen. So I went home that night, had a long talk with my husband, and he said, you got to do it. You've got to leave. You've got to go out on your own. You've got to try, because I think you can succeed. So I went back and I presented that to Marty, and he said, yeah, okay, we'll buy your shares in the agency out, and then you can buy your book of business. And you're going to have to get the broker of record letters because the clients have to agree to come with you. Okay, fair enough. I'm not licensed or anything yet, but I got the letters and they were collected in the office at the agency. Well, he failed to inform the agency that was purchasing us that that was the deal he had struck with me. So, on my 33rd birthday, I was served with a cease and desist order to immediately stop taking those broker of record letters, that I was terminated immediately, and that I needed to clear out of the office. So instead of going into the kitchen and having a piece of birthday cake and celebrating with my coworkers, I was packing everything into emptied out paper boxes and exiting. And I walked out another door, and I did not look back. So, I go on to set up Olympic Crest Insurance. I've had it for 27 years, independently owned, without another partner. I'm very proud of it because it has not been an easy accomplishment. But I rented a little office in town. I painted the walls and set up the desk and got the computer all set up. And I sat down. And you know what I did next? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. I was paralyzed with fear and self-doubt and worry that I had made the biggest mistake of my life. Because in the end, I was only able to purchase a small block of my business. That other agency didn't want me taking all of those clients. So I had a little core to start with, not much, let me tell you, not much at all. And my former clients who would call me, I couldn't talk to them or do business with them because of my non-compete. I was going to honor that. And carrier reps, oh my goodness, they wanted nothing to do with me. I was used to them beating down my doors, and all of a sudden I was an unimportant nothing. So I sat there for a year, doing nothing. And I think this is an important point because I think many of you have been in similar situations and no one wants to admit it, like how hard it is to make a big change. Eventually, I managed to shake it off and start doing the things that I knew how to do. I was out in the community, I was making calls, and I began to grow my agency. And I successfully grew my agency. Things are going along well. And it was shortly after my 20th anniversary as an agency that I was approached by an individual who was leading something else and wanted to come and bring his book of business to me. And the proposition was that he dealt primarily in the large group, and he was a self-funding expert. So I'm thinking, you know, that could be a good deal because I feel like I have a lot to learn in that area. It didn't take very long at all for me to discover that not only were our values not aligned, kindness, honesty, accountability, respect, can't check at least one of those off, it's not going to work. I already knew more about self-funding than he'd ever thought of. So there was just no benefit there. And so I sat down and I had a nice discussion. I said, you know, I don't want to move forward. I don't want to bring you on as a partner. I probably said it nicer than that. I think you would be best served to go out and start your own agency. And what happened was, I nearly lost my business. You can use your imagination because the NDA prevents me from saying anything more. But I nearly lost my business, and once again, my voice was silenced. I had been told I was too young, I was too female, I didn't write enough large group, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't strong enough, and I was sick of it. I couldn't go on like that anymore. I needed to start speaking up. And I wasn't sure really how to do it, but I knew it was time. And so in the beginning, it was really little. I remember seeing people on LinkedIn and I thought, I like what they're doing. I admire that. So I decided I was going to start trying. And so at the top of my to-do list every single day was post to LinkedIn. And you know how many comments and likes I got? 0. 0 for a long time. But I didn't care because even though nobody was responding, I was still starting to share my thoughts, my personal and authentic and unique thoughts, my thoughts on the industry, on leadership, on authenticity. And not too long after I started doing that, I came up with this idea and I called it 2-Minute Tuesday. And so I did a video once a week. So if any of you have followed me for any amount of time, you might have seen one. But again, really no comments or anything. And I remember the turning point for me was I was at a birthday party in my hometown. And this guy came up to me and he's like, I just love those videos you do on LinkedIn. I get so much out of them. I was like, you saw that? Because he'd never hit the thumbs up or the heart button or whatever was available back then. There was no comments. But then I started hearing more of that. And I thought, you know what? Maybe what I have to say does matter. And so I started getting a little bit bolder. But one of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes we do not use our voices for good. We need to use our voices to lift each other up, to lift our industry up, to lift our communities up. And it's okay to disagree because, again, if you've ever heard me speak or anything that I've written, I don't have a big filter. I will generally say what I think. I try to do it as respectfully as possible because I don't want to bring anybody down. And I think one of the issues that we have with social media right now, particularly for those of us trying to do new things, is we look at other people and we're like, they've got it all figured out. Why don't I have it figured out? Why can't I do that? But I would like to remind you, I learned this saying a million years ago, but it sticks with me and I have to remind myself of it, is that you can't compare your insides to somebody else's outsides. All you're seeing is the glossy cover photo. And it doesn't mean they're not doing the good work, but you do not know the struggles and the challenges that they face, the self-doubt that they may face. The same self-doubt you feel may be what others are feeling as well. So remember not to compare yourself, because comparison is a thief of joy. I mean, it truly and truly is. And boy, I tell you what, that is a struggle for me. It is a struggle for me to know that I'm good enough and that my voice matters. You know, I'm only standing up here today because I did win the 2023 Benefits Pro Broker of the Year. And I was really, thank you. I was really excited and honored to receive that award and that recognition. And then I got home and I had the biggest case of imposter syndrome you can even imagine. I didn't want to talk about the fact that I won it. I didn't want to post about it because I felt unworthy of it. I mean, let's face facts. There were 3 Health Rosetta advisors that were the finalists for that award this year, but Health Rosetta only nominated 2 of them, and I wasn't one of them. That worked in my own brain. I admire those 2 people that were nominated, and I probably would have nominated if I had the chance. I mean, they're doing phenomenal things. They're doing big, visible things. I don't do the big, visible things. I do the little things. And I've done the little things for a really, long time. And I think the moment that I finally accepted that I was worthy of that recognition was when I got this card from Reed and Heidi Rasmussen. And it came about a month after I received the award. And I want to read it to you because it was when I felt that I owned being deserving of that recognition. I have to put on my glasses because I'm old. It says, "Thank you for your leadership. So proud of you and all you've accomplished in our industry. Can't wait to see what you do next." And then it goes on to say, "What a year for you. 2 major awards. Proud of you for all the years of consistent work when no one was watching that led to this." And that's when it hit. I have been doing the work for years. If I say I am something, I am it. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I believe in lifting every single person in this room up. If somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn or text or whatever the case may be, I respond to them because they're human beings and they were probably nervous to reach out in the first place, and why would I not give them my time? That's how we carry on a legacy, and that's how we make our voices matter. So I'm going to go back to my original question. Does my voice matter? Does your voice matter? 100%, it matters. But we need to make sure that we're using it for good. And that's all I have for you today.